This video will be debriefing the task time to splash. Now, this task goes over what we've talked about in class regarding solving quadratics by taking square roots. So we have Nina diving from a platform that is 3.75 feet above water, and her height is measured at x seconds by the expression -5 times x minus 0.5, the quantity squared, plus 5. And we're trying to figure out at what time will she hit the water. So first off, we have to think about where is this going to happen. Okay, so we have this question here of what height does Nina hit the water at? Okay, so we know that she's 3.75 feet above water to start with. And then when she hits the water, she's not going to be above it, she's not going to be below it. She's going to be at that water level, and that's going to be 0 feet. Okay, that will be 0 feet is when she's going to hit the water. All right, so once we see 0 here, we want to start thinking about what does that mean in terms of a quadratic equation. Okay, so next we're asked to write this as an equation. So we know that -5 times x minus 0.5 squared plus 5, that's going to equal the height. And since we know what the height is when Nina hits the water, it's going to be 0. We go ahead and plug that into our equation. So we've already started trying to solve this, because once we set equal to 0, we can start trying to solve. We're going to go back to what we talked about with solving with square roots. So we want to subtract 5 on both sides to get that, so we're nice and neat with our square roots. Okay, now since we still have a -5 hanging out there, we want to divide by -5 to get it into a very nice squared part. Okay, now as you can tell, when we have a squared part, we want to do the inverse operation, which is square root. So we have to square root the left side, square root the right side. Now we have to be careful. When we take the square root of 1, we are going to get 2 answers. All right, so those 2 answers are +1 or -1. And then on the left side, we will have x minus 0.5. All right, so since we have plus or -1, that means we'll have 2 possible solutions. Okay, so let's take a look at what those are. We have x minus 0.5 equals 1, x minus 0.5 equals -1. We go ahead and add 0.5 on those. And here are our 2 possible solutions in our context. So see how they're labeled with seconds? That's what we want to make sure that we are doing. We're labeling our answers in context. Now, we have to be critical of these answers because who knows, they might not necessarily make sense in our context. So let's go ahead and look at those times. Okay, let's talk about which one is reasonable. So we have 1.5 seconds and we have -0.5 seconds. So hopefully you said that the positive 1.5 second solution was reasonable. Okay, it's reasonable because she's moving forward in time. Okay, so it does not make sense to have a negative time that's going backwards and going down. Whereas if we're moving forward in time, that would make sense that it's going to take a few seconds for her to hit the water. Now, if we look at our -0.5 seconds, that would be if she went backwards. Okay, she went backwards if she went back in time. Okay, and that answer just is not reasonable.